Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Rebecca and today I'm going to be reacting to a Fresh and Fit episode called More Women Will Die Alone Today Than Ever Before, and this is featuring ABBA from ABBA and Preach. I love ABBA and Preach and I was really excited to see that they were on the podcast, so I'm excited. I hope you guys are too, and without further ado, let's get into it.
Okay. Do you
Go ahead. Say what you gotta say.
Okay. Do you think we're doing a good job with marriage nowadays and dating in general? Do you think people are finding what they want in life?
No.
Okay. And would you agree that in foreign countries, maybe not necessarily wherever you're from, but like in other places, people marry much more and they stay married for much longer compared to how we do?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so wouldn't you also potentially agree that maybe the way that we're doing things is a little bit fucked up?
Definitely.
Okay.
Exactly.
And so if I were to ask you, what do you think is the largest difference between how we do things here and how they do it in those countries where it works?
What's the difference?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm Italian, so one of the things that I've noticed in Italy is that once you're married, to get divorced is basically unthinkable.
Why?
Because of what I mentioned before, and going back to that, once you marry someone and you make those vows, not only marriage is a safety net, but you're also promising to work things out with that person. So the belief in like divorcing doesn't come as easy as here, where it's just like, well, let's just get divorced.
It's
you
not,
know, and it's basically like people get married to get divorced here. Like that is the goal.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
So when you're living in a foreign country, when they get married, they're not just marrying the person. Families are coming together. You have a whole social responsibility.
Yes.
It's not just me and you.
It's a community thing.
It's a
too.
community thing. Here, everything is about how I feel and what I want and my standards.
Right.
Guess what? Over there, they
Personal
don't talk
gain.
about standards. You know, we asked everyone here what they wanted out of a marriage, and people were talking about we want to grow together, we want to do this. You go to foreign countries, they don't talk about those concepts. They don't want to talk about it. Take care of the kids, take care of me, and make sure that you don't stain our family name, and then that's pretty much set, right? And divorce is not even a concept. People settle. Like their standards are very reasonable and they're very at a good place. And you know what? They end up married and they end up finding somebody that works for them. I think out here, people say they won't settle. But the things that they won't settle on aren't even important to making a marriage last.
Yes, 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 yes. Thank you, ABBA. Honestly, he is nailing this so hard right now. I agree with everything that he has said to this point. This is, I think, what we're missing in the conversation about marriage today. We have completely neglected the family. Everything has been individualized. Everything is about myself and how it makes me feel. And marriage was never designed for that. It was always designed for family. It was designed to bring two families together. And now we're living in a society where it's all about the self. It's all about the person. What can my partner do for me? And that has never been the case for marriage. And I'm so happy he's saying this because I think there's so much to learn from this video. So I'm gonna keep playing it.
Well, like, what do you guys think? Like, I was interested in hearing what people were saying, like, what I bring to the table long term, but none of you really mentioned the things that really matter to make something work long term. Nobody mentioned responsibility. Nobody mentioned duty, right? Nobody mentioned just the idea of labor.
Yes, 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 yes. This is what I've been saying from the jump. Marriage is not easy. It's not the fairy tale. It's not the wedding. Marriage is work. It takes discipline. It takes responsibility. It takes action. It takes love. It takes all these different things. If you don't work on your relationship daily, weekly, monthly, you are not going to have a successful relationship. You're not going to have a successful marriage because complacency creeps in and life happens. And unfortunately, you know, people fall out of alignment, and that's because they're not working towards their goal. They're not working on their marriage. They're not working on their relationship. They just think that they showed up and that was it. And that is not the case whatsoever. So he is literally preaching right now. No pun intended.
Unrealistic expectations when it comes to long-term projects, right? And they think it's going to be cool and we're going to love each other and there's going to be lots of emotions and spiritualness and all this other stuff. The truth is, it's a lot of work.
Yes.
Go ask people who've been together for a long time. They'll be like, yo, it's work. The wedding day is wonderful. After that, every day you wake up, the kids are crying. You don't get to sleep for days. You guys got all these bills piling up. People got to take second jobs. She's going through fucking, after effects of pregnancies. There's all kinds of complications. It's a lot of labor.
Recently my dad passed away this year, and it affected my family so hard, and it affected me so hard because I was a daddy's girl. I love my dad. He was my person. It was hard for me to recover from that. And then on top of that, I was the executor of his estate. I was the person in charge of all of the finances. I was in charge of all of the things because unfortunately my mom wasn't capable of doing it, and my other sisters have families, and I was the only person that could handle it. And going through that experience really brought my husband and I even closer together. He was there when I couldn't mentally be there. He was there as my rock, as the person that would encourage me, that would build me up. Everything else that these girls care about don't matter when you're in a situation like that, when you lose someone that you love, or when you have financial issues, or you have family issues. Those things don't matter. The way you look, the way you smell, the way you dress, none of that matters when push comes to shove and you really need that person to step in and help and support and nurture and care. The connection that brings two people together, you can't get that anywhere else. You can't replicate that. And it makes me sad because so many of these women are like, well, he needs to have his money right, he needs to do this and that. I'm like, well, who's going to be there supporting you when you lose someone that you love, or when you lose a job, or anything? That's what really matters, and it requires love, discipline, accountability, responsibility. And right now, everyone is so selfish and think about themselves in all situations. They don't care about the other person, and we're seeing marriages suffer because of that. We're seeing relationships suffer because of that, because people only care about themselves. I don't know how many times I have to say this, but marriage is not about selfishness. It's about selflessness. What can I give to my partner?
When people come in and they say they're never going to settle, I already feel like when you're coming at this whole idea of marriage, especially on the things that you say you won't settle on, I'm like, they're not important to having a good and long, prosperous marriage.
Yes.
People talk about, I want to be in love with my husband, but people get divorced. You know what they never mention? Love. Because they still love each other. It had nothing to do with why they get divorced. They get divorced for financial reasons. Right? They get divorced maybe sometimes because of infidelity, because, you know what, I don't want to be with that person. But love is never the thing. So I just think it's interesting that the things you guys need aren't the reason that people get divorced, and aren't the things that keep people staying together for a long time.
Yeah,
and I'm going to say one last thing. Is like, a lot of you are young here, so for me, I don't even fault it. I think hopefully you guys learn this as you grow older, but you start to realize all these romantic notions and all this other stuff is really not that important. You guys got to understand what it means to, it's just not fun. You know what I'm saying? People, you describe them, they've been together for 34 years, they don't look at each other and go like, this is fun. They're like, I like being around you.
Not true.
It's so true. I'm in a marriage group where we meet every Saturday online, and I see couples, I see people who have been married for 20, 30, 15 years, and it's a different type of love. You mature along the way. The best thing that ever happened to me and my husband is joining a group where we see couples that are still struggling with things today that we struggle with in our relationship, and know they've been married for 30 years. If they can get through it, we can get through it. And it's amazing to have mentors. It's amazing to have counselors along the way that have been married, that have been working on their marriage, who have been continuously pouring into one another on a daily basis. And you see it in their relationships. You see it in the way that they communicate with each other, the way they love on each other. And it's so apparent.
People have been together for 50 years and still hold hands and still work you. I was a nurse and I had patients that were 80 years old And I'm like, how have you been together for 50 years? Like, what's the secret?
You want to know why?
Why?
Because the women were different back then.
Yep, way different.
I'm gonna keep
They
it a
put
stack
up
with
with
you.
shit.
A lot of women want to get married, but they don't want to be wives.
Facts, 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 facts. So many women want to get married, but they don't want to be wives. They want to choose traditionalism when it benefits them and only them. He's not wrong here.
And an example of that, who initiates the divorces? Who breaks up the families? It's the woman, man. Like, the statistical data is there. Like, men will always try to make a marriage work, but it's the women that leave.
Yeah, after he went and fucked 1,000 other women.
But back then, women were willing to put up with a lot.
They were.
Right now, women are not.
They're not.
My grandparents have been married since they were 17.
Yeah.
My grandpa had a whole other kid with another woman, and she still stood by him. Why? Because she was willing to put up with it. Nowadays, women are not willing to put up with anything.
Let me ask you, was it a good environment for your parents for the most part?
For my grandparents?
No, for your parents. To live underneath your grandparents.
Oh, probably not.
Why do you say probably not?
Why? Because of that's infidelity, that's fighting, that's you're seeing. Why is my mom divorced now? Why? Because look what she grew up to.
Or maybe I don't know
No,
your
no,
mom
go
person,
ahead, go
but
ahead.
maybe your mom decided I'm going to prioritize me over the family.
It's so true. So many people are prioritizing themselves over their families. It's an easy way out to say, oh, well, he cheated, so I don't have to be with him anymore. That just makes everything null and void and I can just start over. But you're seeing the effects of children without their fathers in the home, without their mothers in the home. We're seeing this daily.
You know what? When you raise a kid in a divorced household, you prioritize your sense of happiness first. What ends up happening is that the kid suffers a brunt of that negative energy.
Yes.
And that choice that you make. So when I say this, is like your grandparents, like family unit's the most important thing. I must make this work, even though I may not be completely content. I understand we're aspiring to something bigger, which is our sense of community. I'm not going to break that up because you did something that I thought was wrong. So you get down to your parents' generation. This is the boomer generation, the highest divorce rates we've ever seen. Now everything's about me. They go to divorce courts. Where's your assets? Where's your money? They don't bring up love during that whole period. They say, I want everything that you fucking got. Love never comes in, right? So then you get to this generation and they just completely throw that out. And I think one thing that the West, and I think in Western countries we think about a lot is like, me. It's always about me. And I'm recognizing when you marry, it's about a community.
Facts. Just hitting on so many nuggets and gems. I'm just blown away right now. Completely blown away.
So your desires sometimes have to be a bit on the back burner. You
Yes.
understand you are sacrificing for something larger.
Well said.
Really quickly, just a quick question. So do you feel like also men think about me when they sleep with another woman knowing they have a family?
This is what I would say. When you come into a marriage, you have to ask, is everyone doing their duty and their responsibility? Is he bringing home the bread? Is he taking care of the bills? Do you guys all have a roof over your head? Does he handle almost all the large responsibilities? If he does, he's done his part. In that same token, you as a wife, have you been supportive? Have you created and fostered a home where when he comes to, it's not stress and you don't just come home, start nagging his ear off. He's like, damn, I don't want to be here. Let me go back to the streets.
That, yes, absolutely. And also, ladies, if your man is coming home, paying the bills, keeping a roof over your head, doing all of the things that he needs to do, and you're at home complaining and whining and nagging and withholding sex, obviously the man is going to step out of the marriage. I know so many women who have withheld sex for months, for years, and then they are surprised that their husbands have stepped out in the marriage. Well, if they're not getting love and affection in the home, they're gonna find it somewhere else. They will put up with it for a very, very long time. Do not think that they will just easily walk out like that. It takes a lot for a man to get to a point where he wants to find another woman to sleep with. I'm telling you, they go through cycles of shame and this back and forth with their own psyche. But if a woman withholds love, care, nurture, sex in the home, this is an inevitable thing that will happen. That doesn't excuse it from happening, but are you fulfilling the role of a wife? Are you fulfilling your role within the relationship? That is something that you need to ask yourself. And if that's a no, then we need to make a shift. We need to make a change. Find out what your partner's love language is. speak that love language to your partner. It will change the dynamic of your relationship.
I want to ask you, you were a registered nurse, correct?
Yeah.
Have you seen people die by themselves?
Yes. Too many.
What's
So
that
sad.
like?
Terrible. Miserable.
And you also have to acknowledge more people are going to be dying alone today than they ever have before, and that's only increasing. So I think there has to be a very sensible discussion about like what are we condemning people to when we're saying all this stuff? Because it sounds great in theory. Never settle, go for what you want, etc., etc. But the alternative for a lot of women is going to, it might be work out for you, but 3 other women who heard your advice who probably should have taken it, or they might end up dying alone. And you're not going to be there for them when that happens. So I think we have to be sensible with stuff that we say, because I get it sounds great in theory, and look, it might work for you, but for the people who are dying alone, I'm like, whoo, that's not a way I want to die.
So
I don't think he could have said it any better. I loved this message. I think that more people should watch him talk about this subject, because I think he's spot on. And Preach is married. He has seen Preach's relationship with his wife and has learned, because I think Abba is single, if I'm not mistaken, but he understands what it means to be married. He understands because he's seen it. He's seen good examples of it. Today, we've seen so many bad examples. Our parents, you know, our friends' parents, other people that we hear about, and we've just become jaded. But there is hope out there. Marriage has not died, and I think that if more people start opening themselves up, start understanding what marriage actually is, understanding what they have to bring to the table, I think that we can turn things around. We need to work on ourselves, but be open. Be open for relationships, being open to marriage, not necessarily saying I'm done, walking away and never go back. Yes, the world is messed up right now, but my hope is that through messages like his, through messages like mine and other people that are doing the good work, that we can change things around, that we can change the narrative, that we can show what good marriages look like through example, through putting the work in. And that is my goal. That is the goal for this channel. And that's why I make these videos every single week. That is my video for today. I hope you guys liked it. If you did, please let me know down in the comments. Give this video a big thumbs up, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.